Hey everyone, welcome back to It's Beauty Binge. We are so excited to be doing another podcast. It's been a minute, but this is going to be really, really good for you guys. It is on depression and anxiety, two things that are rampant today for a multitude of reasons, which we are going to talk to a specialist, but I'm going to let Tiff introduce him.
Okay, so we have Devin Dutson. He is a mental health therapist, LCSW, been practicing for a long time. I'm going to let him introduce himself and kind of say what you specialize in.
But you've left the most important part. Who is Devin?
Wait, I thought we weren't going to say that. We're just going to let the audience guess. Devin is my husband, so yeah.
Yeah, very special guest today.
For now.
Oh, ouch.
I'm just kidding. Joke, that was a joke.
Yeah. So Devin, tell us more about exactly what you do.
Yeah, so I'm a mental health therapist. I've been practicing for 17 years. Yeah, I'm a licensed clinical social worker, and I'm located in Pleasant Grove and a private practitioner. And so I've worked with a lot of different populations over the years. But mental health is being talked about quite a bit lately, well, in the last few years. And so I think the topics that we're talking about today should be pretty well known, but hopefully we can give some more information that'll help people.
What do you love to do? What's your favorite thing that you, or maybe demographic?
Watch football.
No.
Oh. For therapy?
For therapy.
Wow, that's tough. I love working with adults, but I love working with teenagers. They're their own unique species. I love teens because they just, I don't know, I guess I can kind of act like one sometimes, so I relate to them pretty well. But I do love working with adults because it gets, I feel like, a little bit more serious. And so I'm able to kind of really dig in psychologically a lot more with adults. So I love that part of it.
Do you find that adults are struggling more than the teens, or teens are struggling more than adults? And I want to talk about with depression and anxiety specifically. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a good question. I think they both equally do, but what's presented to me is usually adults that are coming in more kind of self-motivated, and teenagers are kind of more prodded by their parents a little bit.
Okay, that makes sense.
And so, but at the same time, they're struggling with a lot of things. They're just not as vocal as adults. Because when you're kids, teenagers, you don't really have the ability to be able to verbalize all of the issues that are going on and then pay attention to the symptoms and that kind of thing. And so that's usually seen by other authority figures in their life. And then it comes to me and they're like, hey, Jimmy has these issues with this. And then I talk to Jimmy and turns out, yeah, he's got a lot of problems. But adults are like, hey, I'm tired of this, and this, and I need help.
Yeah. So that brings up a good starting point. I want to dig straight in to it. Let's get into all the meat of it just so we can help as many people as absolutely possible. So would you say anxiety leads to depression? So let's start. Would you say that's factual? Anxiety is a main cause of depression.
So this is what I see. I see a lot of people that are anxious that do feel depressed, but I have seen people that have a tendency to feel depressed but not necessarily have anxiety. So it's kind of like anxiety can produce the depression, but it doesn't always work the other way around.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yeah,
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, so starting with anxiety, I feel like we were talking earlier, a lot of people suffer from anxiety but don't know they're suffering from it. Would you say that could be factual? A lot of people are suffering inside and they just don't realize, hey, it's because I have anxiety.
100%.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think the main reason why that's the case is because people get used to it. So they adapt to that level of anxiety, and then, if you want to get on a physiological level, your brain's going to release the same chemicals around the same times that you're doing the same things that cause the same amount of anxiety. And so then it's just like this underlying issue that you might not even recognize is there.
Right.
And so you're 100% correct.
Okay. So what kind of advice, because we don't have a lot of time, what kind of advice would you give really everyone? What kind of question could you have them ask themselves to pinpoint, oh, hey, I actually might be suffering from this. Now I have awareness of it, so I can heal it.
Yeah, if I were to just create a question off the top of my head, it would be, do I want to feel like I am feeling right now? Do I want to feel like this forever? So if you can answer that and be like, yeah, I would totally love to feel like this all the time for the rest of my life, probably don't have much anxiety. But if you're really honest with yourself, you get to the point where you go, yeah, there's something I just don't really want to feel like this forever. So that indicates that there's something going on.
Yeah.
Okay, that is pretty powerful, because I believe a lot of people walk around in just a numb state. I've lived in that state before where literally I remember asking myself, I was in the most beautiful place on the most incredible vacation, and I was looking out the window and I was like, I don't feel anything. No. I don't feel happiness and I don't feel sadness. I vividly remember, I'm like, I feel nothing right now. And it was the first time I'm like, something's wrong.
Interesting.
For me not to
the absence of emotion was the indicator.
And that's when I realized I'm living in a numb state where life is living me and I'm not living life.
Yeah, and so what I see a lot of times when people describe feeling numb is, if I dig deeper into what's going on with them, I'll notice that it's not just that they don't have emotion. What it is they have so much emotion that psychologically their psyche kind of just turns off. And then they just, that's the defense mechanism to cope with the waves of emotion that they're feeling.
And
it's very effective.
People make bad decisions, would you say?
Oh yeah. Well, they're in a numb state.
When you're emotionally shut down and you feel nothing, that's when you start making bad decisions or no decisions.
Yeah, you're not progressing.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, you make poor decisions because you don't have the emotions to indicate that what decision I'm going to make is either good or bad. So the intuition is very much inhibited or hampered in some way. And really it's just, the overload of emotion just gets to the point where, people struggle to be able to cope with it. And so your brain literally just goes, you know what, we're just going to repress that. We're just going to repress that stuff, and then they go into this numb state, and it can last for years. And that's why I would ask them, do you want to feel the way that you're feeling right now for the rest of your life? And if they're like, no, I don't really like that. I don't like not feeling happy when I'm at a beach on a resort or whatever. That's when you're supposed to be happy, right?
Do you think people just get used to that? Like it's normal? I see a lot of people living in this routine that just becomes normal. And to me, I'm looking at it like, that is not a normal, happy life.
Yeah, here's the thing though, is I think a lot of times people feel like they're forced to cope with it that way. Because their life may have so much anxiety that the only way to get through the day is to literally emotionally shut down and just numb out. Yeah, they kind of get used to it, but at the same time, it's not what's ideal for them. And they can recognize that. Most people can recognize that.
So people with high anxiety that know they have anxiety, what's one tip you could give those people who know, hey, I'm really anxious. I'm aware that I'm anxious. I feel this way most of the time throughout my day or multiple times throughout the day. What kind of advice could you give them that could just give them a little help?
Yeah.
Other than coming to meet with you if you live in Utah.
Yeah. There's obviously a few things, and I've talked about this on another podcast that I was on, but there's the basic things that we do to just try to use self-care as a way to try to cope with negative emotions, right? Exercise, diet, getting sun, all that kind of stuff. I could go on for about that.
Well, let's give them some. So exercise,
Oh.
going on a walk, fixing your nutrition, sleeping more, getting more water.
Is that really
else?
easy for people though?
It's going to be easy for people to do at least one or two of those things, but it's hard to do all of those things. Like, let's get enough sun, like especially in the winter months. You know, how are you going to get enough sun so that you have enough vitamin D? There's a high correlation between low vitamin D levels and depression. So how do you maintain that throughout the winter? So that's something that you've got to figure out.
Yeah.
So that's just one aspect of doing that. And then a lot of times people have the seasonal depression going on in the wintertime. So in the wintertime, you know, they have to find extra motivation to be able to go to the gym. And a lot of these are intertwined with each other. So like if you have low vitamin D, it's going to be harder to be motivated to go to the gym. If you don't go to the gym, it's going to be harder to be motivated to get to eat right. Like, so they're all just like synergistically intertwined. And so those are simple things, but it's like, okay, how do I cope with negative emotions? You know, sorry. So if we're going real basic, it's like going for a walk, going outside, like literally getting rid of the screen time and going outside.
So
Connect with somebody.
can I stop you? Sorry.
You
What is a healthy
can.
amount of screen time? Limit
Yeah.
to 2 hours a day?
It's going to depend on the person.
Okay.
You know, there's not one answer for everybody. And so you have to ask yourself, like, is this benefiting me? Would I like to feel this way? For, you know what I mean? Like, and then if you're not addicted to it, you can honestly answer that question and then say, yeah, this is probably too much.
Yeah.
I need to cut it back.
Yeah.
But the screen time is what I think the biggest harm with it is that it's keeping you from doing the other things that help your mental health, which you can't, and I stress this so much with my clients, you cannot separate your physical health with your mental health. You cannot separate them. If you try to just be like, oh, I'm just going to work on one, I mean, if you work on your physical health, it's going to help your mental health. That's why you,
hands down.
Yes.
that's why
That's
you
my
can't
biggest
separate the
cure.
two.
yeah.
Yeah.
Especially right now, building a business.
Yeah.
That is my cure. Is my workout.
Yeah, it keeps everything
Yes.
in check, makes you feel better.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a lot of basic things, a lot of other basic things too, but it's like, you know, what other things do I really enjoy doing? What can I fill in my time with? You know, I was mentioning connecting with people. You know, you want to have a social, so we're social beings, we're intellectual beings. So if you're highly intellectual, you know, do you have that outlet? What does that look like?
Right.
You
Reading
know.
a book.
Yeah.
Talking
Right,
to somebody
podcasts.
else, podcasts. I
Yeah.
love, that's all I listen to when I work out is podcasts
Me too.
and the occasional.
And my book.
You know, music. But yeah, I love it because I'm learning.
Okay.
So I'm kind of killing two birds with one stone.
Okay.
So there's, there's,
connecting with people, working on your mindset, and then physical exercise, right, and food.
yeah,
Those are the simple things that they can execute
diet.
right now.
And then there's, you know, appropriate supplementation. That's another one that people can work on. So with like appropriate supplementation, that just means like identifying what some of your symptoms are. So like if you have low vitamin D and it's in the winter time, it's probably good to supplement with vitamin D3. Now you might have to get some blood work done to figure out where your vitamin D levels are
I
at.
see. Okay.
So using appropriate, you know, and then there's been other studies that have shown things like fish oil being able to help with symptom of
omegas,
ADHD, you know, and anxiety. Magnesium is very good to help people with anxiety, especially at night.
Oh, amazing.
Magnesium tartrate is what I take at night before I go to bed.
Okay.
But magnesium malate is something supposed to help you give a little bit more energy, but you need, you know, that's if you're magnesium deficient, which I would guess we all are,
Okay.
based on the American diet.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay. Great.
So one more thing, just before we wrap up, with anxiety, do you feel like it's like a learned thing? Like, where is this stemming from? Is this a learned thing? Is this a genetic thing? Like, why are so many of us, especially women, right, like suffering from anxiety? What is?
So,
Yeah.
great question.
Being
Yeah.
competitive,
Also a little bit
keeping up with
loaded,
the
but
challenges.
Yeah.
I would say that it's all of the above. It's psychological, it's environmental, it can be interpersonal, it can stem from your job. You know, I mean, there's so many different factors that can happen. And yeah, it can even be a learned behavior. I've known teenagers that watch their mother or father, that if they're a high anxiety parent, they see that and they mimic that behavior.
Yeah.
And so that's another factor of anxiety. And then I would say the foods that we take in today, they're just so deplete in vitamins and nutrients that our brains don't have the ability to produce the chemicals to be able to cope with anxiety like in the past. So your brain's just kind of going, I'm starving. I don't have what it needs to cope with this level of depression or anxiety.
Wow.
I need some help, you know. So there's the physiological aspect of it as well. So all of the above.
Yeah.
Holy moly. Okay, so with all of those little side notes, what would you say is the biggest thing someone could do, again, to just help them a little bit? We got all the supplements, the health, the food, all these things, but that one kind of key takeaway.
Can I throw in two?
We'll let you do two.
Can I
Two
do
is always better than
Two
one.
for one. Let's
So
go.
sure, let's do two, wrap it up with our two, and then we'll of course have a part 2 segment to this podcast. So what are the two?
All right. I would say, first of all, get into a really, really good routine. And you want to stick with the routine because your brain actually has the ability to predict what you're about to do if it's on the same routine, and will release chemicals before you even do it to be able to function during that activity.
Wow.
So your brain, if you're going to the gym at the same time every time, your brain's going, all right, let's start releasing some adrenaline. Let's start releasing some norepinephrine. Yeah, so your brain is a predictor. So as we are in a set routine, your mental health, it helps your brain be able to know what to do, and it helps you be able to also know what is to be expected. So that's probably the biggest one. Living a daily set schedule along with good habits in a routine.
Okay.
Sleep same time.
Okay.
And the second one, and this is a little bit newer for some people, meditation. If we're talking anxiety,
Oh, I love this.
you really, really have to get into a routine of meditation.
Yeah.
And when I talk about meditation, there's a billion different ways to do it. The biggest factor of meditation is just doing it, quieting down your brain, and just being still. Just allow yourself to have some time of your day that has nothing to do with anything.
Turn everything off.
Turn everything off
No, that's
and just
powerful.
breathe.
Yeah.
So the biggest takeaway for today, I'd say to wrap it up, is to ask yourself the magic question: do I like how I feel right now? Right?
Do I want to feel this way forever?
Do I want to feel this way forever? Create that awareness, and then create those new routines.
Yeah.
Right? Create a brand new routine, probably of the person that you want to be.
Yeah.
Right?
Write
And
that
then meditate.
Meditation and self-affirmation.
And self-affirmations. Anyways, thank you for tuning in today. Do not forget to click below and subscribe to our channel. Many more incredible things are going to be coming your way, including a part 2. And thanks again for coming on, and have a good day.